Well, good morning to everyone. My name is Llúcia González. I will present you this presentation about social inequalities in INMA cohort and its impact on child neurodevelopment. First of all, where do I come from? Okay. And now I come from the FISABIO Foundation, as Constanza said, which is the Foundation for the Promotion of Health and Biomedical Research in the Valencian region. But I also belong to the CIBERESP, which is an organization which name is Centro de Investigación Biomédica en Red, Epidemiology y Salud Pública, and belongs to the government of the country of Spain. As they told, I am a part of a team of researchers. This team is known as the INMA study, the Infancia y Medio Ambiente study, which has a total of 7 sub-cohorts. 3 of them are known as the pre-existing cohorts, and 4 of them are the novel cohorts, which are following a common protocol. The main aim of these cohorts is assessing the impact of pollutants of air, water, and diet in children's health. With the pass of the time, these cohorts have developed their own research lines. And regarding this topic, social determinants and neurodevelopment, 2 of them focused and joined forces to develop this research line: the Guipúzcoa cohort and the Valencia cohort. Which works we have been doing in this line? I will present you now 3 of them. The first of them is the role of parental social class, education, and unemployment on child cognitive development. We explored this only in Valencia cohort, and we have an objective to assess the effect of classical socioeconomic position indicators such as parental social class, education, unemployment for both father and mother on child's cognitive development at age 5. We found that mothers had a stronger influence than fathers for child development. For mothers, the most important factor contributing to cognitive development was her education, while for fathers was social class. The relation of these 2 factors with cognitive development remained strong and unchanged, even when adjusting for the other covariates and confounders. The second work is risk of child poverty and social exclusion in 2 Spanish regions, social and family determinants. We employed in this work an indicator which name is AROPE. AROPE stands for at risk of poverty and exclusion. We will talk a little bit more about this indicator. And the main objective was describing this prevalence, was describing the prevalence of AROPE in the 2 cohorts, and also exploring the relation with the sub-indicators of this main indicator and the associated factors. As conclusion of this work, we observed that Valencia cohort presented higher percentage of the sample with AROPE in comparison to Guipúzcoa. This indicator was very associated to maternal social class and family structure in both cohorts, parental education, maternal country of origin, and parental smoking in Valencia cohort, and maternal education only in Guipúzcoa cohort. The third of the works that I'm presenting you as previous works in this line was published in European Child and Adolescent Psychiatry. Its name is Poverty, Social Exclusion, and Mental Health: the role of the family context in children aged 7 to 11 in the INMA mother and child cohort study. In this work, what we did was examining the relationship between social determinants explored and measured with the AROPE that I told before, and if these social determinants had an effect on mental health, measured through the CBCL, the internalizing and externalizing problems. And also, the aim was assessing the potential mediation of the family context, measured through another scale, which I will explain later, which is a family context scale. As a conclusion, parental stress and conflict and parental profile fostering child development mediated up to 42% and 62% of internalizing and externalizing problems, respectively. But what are social determinants? They are characteristics which describe social position. Dahlgren and Whitehead in the European Strategies for Tackling Social Inequities in Health recommend the following: using the income, occupation, or education to measure social position. These all function reasonably well as indicators of social position in European countries, though they all have their drawbacks. They also propose this known rainbow paradigm, where the social determinants such as education, work, environment, and employment are placed in an outer layer of this rainbow, and they also affect the community networks, the individual lifestyle. This is a paradigm that works quite well for adults, but we will see that we have to take into account other factors when considering child development, for example. The objective of this work is to study how different socioeconomic position indicators are related to cognitive development. These socioeconomic position indicators, we classify them as classical socioeconomic position, those measured also with the AROPE, and also one which is the equivalized household income indicator that I know that you also know a lot about it because you developed and it's very interesting. We will firstly start with the classical variables. I will explain how we collected it and how it were constructed. We had the education, occupation, and employment from pregnancy. We obtained this social class through through the occupation of each parent. So they were classified regarding occupation according to the national occupation classifications from 1979, but also its update in 1994. We combined this social class to obtain a family social class, and families were classified according to the social class of both parents, were categorized as highest, middle, and lowest. The education level was defined as the highest level completed for each parent at pregnancy and classified as primary, secondary, and university. We also used a combined education measurement. And for employment status, we defined it as being employed, unemployed, student, housewife, also in pregnancy. And we also obtained combined employment status regarding different profiles. However, we may recombine some of these categories just to have a clearer analysis, we will see. The second group of socioeconomic position indicators is the AROPE. This AROPE, which I told you before, was an indicator recommended by the Europe 2020 strategy, and is defined as the sum of persons at risk of poverty, severely deprived, and living in households with very low work intensity. This indicator has been also included to measure the first Sustainable Development Goals in the Agenda 2030, those which was related with banishing the poverty in European society. It is composed by 3 sub-indicators. The first of them is the risk of poverty. Risk of poverty people in the households were classified as being as risk of poverty if they were below the 60% of the national median income by consumption unit. Consumption units are weights that are provided to each person depending on their age and the number of persons for the household. Yeah. So consumption units are very important for this. Low work intensity was considered as low. This work intensity was considered as low if the members in the household worked less than the 20% of available working hours for members in working age. And finally, material deprivation was lacking a number of commodities, such as, for example, having a phone or being able to go on holiday for a week, for example, from a list of 9. And a household was considered as being AROPE if they fulfill any of these sub-indicators. I will present you now very briefly the differences between the two cohorts that we're talking about, just to understand that they are quite different. Yes. We can see here that there is a Gipuzkoa cohort in the left and Valencia in the right. They both had similar weights for risk of poverty in proportion, but we can see that the total risk of AROPE is quite diverse. For Gipuzkoa, it was 7.2%, and for Valencia, it was more than a third. So let's go to dive in now in the equivalized household income indicator. It was calculated in pregnancy, but we also calculated recently for this age period where AROPE was taken. It measures family monthly income. It was developed, among other reasons, to avoid missing or biased data in income. And it is calculated using data from USILC 2011 and USILC 2015, and also with internal data from the cohorts that take into account different social dimensions of each household, such as parental age, education, employment, occupation, country of birth, family composition, family size, type of dwelling. Its main outcome is categorized in high, middle, and low income using the 2011 USILC tertiles as cutoff. So now that we know which are our exposures, let's know a little bit more about how we measured cognitive development. We employed the Raven progressive colored matrices. This is a neuropsychological computerized test applied by a professional. It measures nonverbal intelligence, which is the ability of reasoning, and it does it through 36 items of figure completion, such as this that we have here. To the participant, we presented a picture where a piece was missing. So the participant needed to reason which was the best option to match this missing piece. In this case, which one is? Volunteer. 4, of course. The main outcome is the total of correct answers, which ranges from 0 to 36, because we have 36 items. So, as I said, we have here the updated Dahlgren and Whitehead rainbow, which also takes into consideration very important layers to understand the development of children. These are, let's say, the layers that we have to consider for children, which are the household resources, parents and carers, for example, their mental health, their health behaviors, and also parenting and child health behaviors. And how should we measure it? It's a little bit difficult. But as another objective, we also try to explore family context. with a scale which name is a little bit complicated because it's in Euskera. ISHADI Family Assessment Scale, 7 to 11. And it has, as you can see, a lot of subscales and also factors. Each subscale have different factors. It is a paper and pencil test, self-administered. It measures family context, and it has a total of 140 Likert type items of 6 points, organized in 5 subscales. We have the first subscale, which is promotion of cognitive and linguistic development, which is, for example, if parents encourage their children to read, or if they have a musical instrument in home. Subscale 2 is promotion of social and emotional development, and this is about if in home people talk about feelings, or if the parents also encourage their child to have their own social relations, their friends. Subscale 3 is about organization of the physical environment and social context. It's the perception that parents have about the public resources, if they can make consultations to pediatricians, to psychologists, but also if they perceive they have physical resources available, like libraries or, for example, playgrounds close to their home. The subscale 4 is parental stress and conflict, and it is the frequency of stress in home, the conflict, and also how this stress and conflict is solved. And the 5th subscale is parental profile, fostering child development, which is a sentence that really doesn't say much because it's a little bit ambiguous. But just a quick explanation, it is something like the attitudes, behaviors, and feelings that parents have about parenting itself. The main outcome is the total score of each subscale. And now I finally present some results. Well, we can see this figure. In this figure, we have 3 panels. In the first panel, we can see the crude associations, but minimally adjusted by sex, age, and cohort. In the second panel, we have the adjusted associations by parity, parental origin, parental age, maternal history of pre-pregnancy, anxiety and depression, and maternal intelligence. And finally, we have a sensitivity analysis only for those exposures which were collected later and not only in baseline. And it was these exposures were adjusted by variables taken, for example, at 5 years of the child's age, which were also we consider to be important for cognitive development, such as main care provider, current family structure, and number of siblings. So what we can see in green, we have, let's say, the classical variables, social class, family education, and unemployment. In red, we have the equivalized household income indicator calculated both at pregnancy and at 7 to 11 years. And finally, we have the AROPE indicator, the sub-indicators, which are 3, and an additional variable that we developed yesterday just to check how it behaved. And it was the income that the families declared, and it was divided also in 3, categorized in 3 categories, as highest, middle, and lowest, using the cutoff, the same cutoff that we employed for the equivalized household income. So we can see in general terms that there's a nice gradient for family social class and also for equivalized household income indicator, where those who have lowest income or lowest social class obtain less score in the cognitive development. Regarding family education and family employment, we observe that not having a highly educated father is what seems more harmful for cognitive development. While for family employment, the worst combination was being housewife and having an employed parent. But we have to say that there are very few cases in this category, so and the intervals are quite large, so we may recategorize it. Finally, what we observe in Arope is that it is very voluble here. It changes a lot depending on the adjusting variables, and this may be due because are very related. Regarding the income, we can observe that it also changes in the same way it changes when adjusting for Arope and for risk of poverty. And now we will see the relations with of these exposures with the subscales. We did this in order to identify those subscales that we wanted to detect as a possible mediators. So, in general terms, we can observe that for subscale 2 and subscale 3, there are no very clear associations. Well, for the first, which was stimulation of cognitive development, the second, which was parental stress, and the fifth, which is more clearly observed, this was the parental profile fostering child development. We additionally, what did was exploring if there was any kind of effect modification by sex. And we observed that this happened for risk of poverty and Arope in the subscale 2, 3, and 4. So those who were classified as being at risk had different effect on these subscales depending on the sex of the child. Being the boys, the families with boys, those who had worse scores in the subscales. I did also this morning, so maybe it's the first time I'm presenting this, even for Constanza. I did this also for the income variable. So there's an interesting profile because we can see that for middle income, it seems that girls have less score, while for low income have less score the boys. We have to talk about this and discuss a little bit. So in conclusion, regarding cognitive development, we found that more deprived families measured the social class and equalized household income indicator at pregnancy and 7 to 11 had children with lower scores in cognitive development. Not having a father highly educated or having a mother as housewife were also associated with lower scores of cognitive development. Arope and the sub-indicators presented inconsistent results, especially when considering confounders. This could be due to the extreme relation with these confounders, as I told you about the paper that we presented in this research line. The socioeconomic indicators were related to family context in the case of subscale 1, 4, and 5. We observed an effect modification by sex for Arope and risk of poverty in relation to subscale 2, 3, and 4. What future steps we expect to make a mediation analysis, but we are still working on that. And now the only thing that I have to say is thank you for your attention. And I have also prepared a little quick information for discussion, but maybe I finish here and thank you.